What's happening, friends? Welcome back for another episode of the Chamber Podcast. My name is Rob Johnson, and joining me in the studio today is Jessica Chaplin. She is the co-owner of Kensington Valley CrossFit. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First time podcast?
Very first time. So
it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So Jessica, CrossFit is, I would say it's one of those industries that hasn't had a lot of press on it, you know, as far as other, you know, physiology, sciences, and it's relatively new. So I'm curious just how someone transitions into that field. So I guess for our listeners, just give us like a 30 to 60 second background on you. And then I really want to dive into how one goes into that particular industry.
Of course. Background on myself, I have been working out since I literally could drive my first car. Back in the 90s when I started, there was step aerobics. So I've done everything from step aerobics to Gold's Gym to Powerhouse to cardio kickboxing, you name it. And I think my story probably resonates with quite a few other people. I got my first big girl job, and I was working long hours and in corporate America, and I ate poorly. I didn't work out, and I worked a whole lot of hours.
Yeah.
And I finally said, you know what? I had been out of working out for a while. I said, I need something, but I need something quick. I need it effective, and I only have an hour, maybe, if I'm lucky, a couple days a week. I had a friend that was doing CrossFit back in the day, and she said, hey, why don't you go try it out? I think it'll be a good fit for what you're looking for. I sent an email, I showed up, and haven't left since. And that was almost 11 years ago. So I like it. CrossFit does have some press, both good and bad.
Yeah.
It's been around since about 2005. It was originated out of military/public service training. It was a way for those fields to stay in shape for their job.
Yeah.
And it evolved into a methodology. CrossFit is a combination of cardio and weightlifting in the same circuit. We were talking earlier that's really all CrossFit is at the end of the day, is a combination of circuits that are specifically designed using our methodology. And when you do that in an hour, you get both components where most people are doing one or the other often. Now, not all. There's been some things that emerged recently, but that's really what CrossFit's about. It's quick, it's effective, and you can get on with your day.
Yeah. Because you mentioned if someone is in that spot where they have 3 hours a week max, so being able to hit all of the things in one circuit seems to make more sense, fit into schedule a little bit better.
I find that it is, again, back to effective, it worked for me. So as a working adult, before I transitioned into more of the ownership, participating more, doing more hours, it worked. It was there. I could get in, I could get out, and it was everything that I needed. And the biggest part for me was I didn't have to think about a thing. Somebody led me through it, and I couldn't avoid all the things I hated as well in the gym. So they forced me to do it. I went in, I got out, and it really worked. And it makes the most sense. Yeah.
I feel like you mentioned Gold's and the Powerhouse. And when I was a kid, like 18, 19, I went to those gyms. And I always felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like, wow, these guys are like 4 times, more muscular. And it was just so intimidating. And I find that that's usually, at least in my circles, the biggest hurdle for people to jump over is I don't want to go into a place and get judged. And, people are going to, I am not as able as everyone else when I'm going there. Do you find that people have that similar fear when they're out searching for a new fitness community?
100%. No matter what type, gym, fitness regimen they're trying to get into. Now, maybe at-home workouts are a little separate because you don't have to be with people, around people, etc. But absolutely, that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that we have is people who there's fear, intimidation, judgment, all of those things that we put onto ourselves. All I can say is that if that's you, the best thing you can do is walk into somewhere and let them take care of you, because that is not, even if people don't want to do CrossFit and stay with CrossFit, they will tell you that their experience was anything but those 3 things.
That's good. Are you familiar with Jocko Willink?
I do, yes.
So he obviously runs a Jiu Jitsu gym out in San Diego, and he was always like, everyone there in jiu-jitsu gets choked out. Like you're going to get tapped out. You're going to get beaten. There's always somebody better. And he's like, it's such a humbling experience. You go to your first, jiu-jitsu roll and you're going to get choked out. And that's it. Like, that's really where then you feel like, okay, I'm not better than everyone here, and that's a very humbling experience. Then you just move on. And it's just kind of the whole thing of you just have to go and do it. You have to go and experience it and try it. And then if those preconceived notions in your mind match up to that experience, well, then by all means, don't go back. But as you said, that's few and far between.
And it's probably few and far between. Obviously, I love CrossFit. I love everything about it. I love what it does. I love the results. But I'm about fitness. I'm about what works for you. I'm encouraging everybody to go out and find what they enjoy, what they do, what they like to do. So everybody can do CrossFit, but CrossFit isn't for everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Some people love to go to Jiu Jitsu, and that's their thing. We have several Jiu Jitsu people who do both.
Yep.
It's actually a very similar community, I would say.
Yeah. Everyone that I know that does jiu-jitsu also does CrossFit. So it's
very similar.
Yeah.
It's the way they think, the way they believe, the way they like to work out. We don't choke anybody. So just for the record, we don't choke anybody out.
You put that on the website. Different. We won't choke you out.
I like that. That's our new tagline.
Good.
However, what they experience could potentially still be the same thing, right? The fear is that humbling moment when you thought you were something you maybe aren't, or you tried something and you failed at it. And I think that's where we manifest those feelings so intensely, but it's really not what it's about at all. So you will get humbled, you will get set back. But I find that the people who do jiu-jitsu, CrossFit are motivated by those moments versus the opposite.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's your driving factor. Mm-hmm. That makes 100% sense. All right, so talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned something during the pre-interview that I thought was really unique. So COVID sucked for fitness centers all over, right? Mandates were levied, I would say, a little bit more heavier on those centers than most. And you had mentioned an interesting way that you had pivoted. So kind of walk me through what happened when COVID hit, when the shutdown happened, and then how you continued to serve your members through that.
COVID has been challenging. COVID still remains challenging.
Sure.
We finally have started to come out of what we feel is like the COVID era. And so same thing we talked about. And everybody seems to be open and honest about the way they felt about COVID or how it affected them. I mentioned we shut down in March 2 years ago, almost to the day. And I literally probably went home and sat on the couch for a week. I didn't know what to do. This has never happened before.
There's no script on what to do.
Not at all. I didn't even know in our world, we never had to serve our members in a different way.
Right.
You just got up and went to the gym and that was what we did. We were to your point, I forget, we were in each other's faces and we were around each other and we helped each other lift, and it was just the course of business. So after a few days, we collected ourselves and we said, okay, our people, what do they need from us? And right now they need community because that's what they do. That's why they come to group classes. Most of them probably need equipment because they don't have any at home. And we opened it up to any active member, maybe some that even weren't members, and said, please come take anything you need, take it to your house. And then that following Monday, we started virtual classes. It's not the same. I'll be honest. It's not the same as being in person. Our members thrive on being in person, and anybody in a group class in any world thrives on that.
Right.
But it was a way to connect with them virtually, live, that we didn't have. So at least it was a touch point for most people who were hanging out at home by themselves or with their families only.
Yeah. And that's really a kind of something I think was an unexpected, benefit's not the right word, but just an unexpected outcome of COVID is like, isolation isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Like, you can say I'm sick of people and I just don't want to be around people. And then when you're really isolated, you're like, damn, I really miss people, and it's the same thing. Like it's much harder. Like is those small micro transactions that we give each other in the gym, the high fives, the, great job, the encouragement, it just doesn't translate the same virtually. And that's what people miss, is that you can form a bond with people virtually. You know, we've been doing it for, 25 years since the internet came about, but it's not the same as being in person. You know, that's why it's like, oh, online dating, and that's only online. We're never going to meet in person. Like, well, how's that going to go for you? You know, not well, probably not as well as it would if you were in person, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And that spans more than just that moment, that industry. I obviously, without rolling into too many, those that can have a great online presence are really something to strive for. But the connection, you're right, is not the same. And after experiencing both, I'll stand behind that. Even at work or Zoom calls, Google Meet, it's just not the same. The connection to the human element, going way, way back, we are pack animals. Humans are pack animals. We like to be in groups.
Right. It's where we learn the most things. It's where we achieve the most things. It's very hard to have success singularly. You know, I even think about like business owners, and this is probably a good topic since you and I are both business owners. It's very hard for me to say I did it on my own. I can never say that. Like, there's so many people that have made a connection or a call or an introduction or something that if it wasn't for community, I wouldn't be in business. And it's very hard to say, oh yes, I've done this solely on my own. I'm a self-starter. It's like, well, yeah, you can be personally motivated, but there's so many cultural and human elements that fit into success that it's never done solo.
I agree. Everything. We could drill down Google reviews. I mean, I don't exist without a community of or a member base. We don't have a business. People need to, word of mouth is our number one sell, 100%. So I can sink as much money as I'd like into Google ads. Yay, Google ads. But at the end of the day, 90% of my referrals are word of mouth. Yeah.
It's just not as effective because you have a personal recommendation. You know, it's the same thing in the restaurant business or really anything, even for us as a marketing company. It's, I can run Google ads to get more Google ads business, but somebody telling their friend they did it and it was awesome is much different than someone seeing it online. Both are effective. I think one is way more effective though.
Absolutely. Plus you can join your friend. It's easy to say, hey, why don't you come with me to CrossFit tonight? Hey, why don't you try this new restaurant with me? Of course. And there's also a little safety built in for the three things, the fear and the intimidation too.
Yes. Yeah. Because you have someone, you're not showing up 100% alone.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. When you're on those rings and you're alone, that's when it starts to sink in. Your friend can't come help lift you up.
Yes. Let's not get trapped under any barbells or anything like that.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as you've done this, and how long have you owned Kensington Valley?
We are starting our 5th year. So we've just completed our 4th year.
Okay. Congratulations on that. And what has it been like? What is kind of the experience of being a business owner? 'Cause you said you've done some other jobs. You've kind of been in that corporate environment. What's the transition looked like, and how did you kind of, not cope isn't the right word, but just move into a different type of setting where now you're the entrepreneur rather than the employee?
It's vastly different. It's vastly different. If you haven't owned a business, I'm going to tell you right now, it's different.
It's an education.
Yes, very much so. A lot of the things that I took for granted, I do every day now. What I would say, obviously, let's set COVID aside because that's for everybody, every business, everywhere. That's just a side thing.
Sure.
Transitioning from being a member or being a part of a business to owning a business, it has had a lot of challenges. I've enjoyed it. I do like the entrepreneur enterprise spirit. I love creating. I love innovating. What I would say, I mean, probably not here to talk about all my faults, but things that I didn't think that I needed. A vendor for clothing, somebody that can do my media and marketing. Yeah. I don't know where I go get I'm going to use this loosely. I don't know where to go, who to trust to get a website from.
Right.
I don't know. All of these things that in the corporate world were handled by different departments, different people, even a small business. I now own all of those things.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I'm not qualified. My specialty is coaching. My specialty is CrossFit. It's investing in people. It's making you achieve your goals that you want. Knowing where to go to get a t-shirt design, maybe not so much.
Yeah. It's this thing of there's not a lot of preparation in this. And I don't think we've done a particularly great job. I'm speaking very broad here in our schools of focusing on entrepreneurship, because we kind of build people to be employees, because that's the vast majority of the workforce, not owners. But there's something to be said for understanding trust metrics, because you mentioned, who do I go for a website or a t-shirt design or even graphic design or even my logo? Like who is the trustworthy people? And it's difficult to gauge that unless you have a referral, unless you have someone with a vast amount of Google reviews or something that's tangible. But even then, as a business owner, you don't have a time for the second job of research and development of, looking into all of those things, right?
Absolutely not. I would say one of the best things that we decided to do was join the chamber, because it provided me a more narrow network of people that I could talk to, that I could source from, versus, no offense, Google, sitting down, pages, thousands. If I just Googled graphic designer, I could go anywhere, anytime and find somebody. So
any country.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Literally websites that connect you with people to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
So I think joining the chamber was my number one. And then number two, I found a referral group within the chamber that I'm part of. And our business to business network creates an even smaller network of people. And in that group, I have some of the people that I need. And if I don't have in that group of people that I need, they know somebody.
Oh, sure.
So again, it's referring back to what we started with. It's referral. So
it's huge.
Yeah. I can talk to, Andrew about insurance, and I can talk to Mike about creating a website. It makes the world a little smaller. To your point, I don't have time. My specialty is training people, not finding website designers.
Yeah. And also too, like, I know from my experience, I don't know that I need something until somebody tells me that I do. And typically when they do, they have a referral, which is nice. I thought for a long time, because I have a finance background, surely I can handle my own books. And there became a day where I'm like on day 30 of not doing anything with him. And I'm like, this is not sustainable, because I'm rushing at once a month. I have 4 hours a month to do this. It's impossible. So then someone's like, you need a controller. So and then they're like, here's who you need. And that's who I used, and they were tremendous. And that's something off my plate, but it's just something that you don't know right off the get-go when you start. It's it's like I said, it's an education. This whole thing every day,
Is it education every day? I will leave it at that.
Yes.
But I would say, back to what we were talking about, I think that was the hardest transition, is going to the things I didn't know, what I didn't know. Yeah. And every day was something new that I hadn't come across. Am I going to clean the facility myself? Am I going to hire somebody? Am I going to design the shirts myself? Am I going to have somebody design them? Yeah. So again, teaching people how to be fit, nutrition, I can do that off the cuff any day, anywhere, anytime. The other stuff, that was the biggest upswing. And I didn't mention it before, but I definitely think that schools probably could do a little bit better job. Things have probably changed, right? I went to high school 20 years ago because I'm old. So those classes weren't offered. You took your basic classes in high school. I didn't know about anything else. I didn't even know entrepreneur was a job.
Right. I saw that was a synonym for unemployed. that was how it was always spun to me. Is that's the people that are undecided.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know. I don't think I could spell entrepreneur in high school. Nobody I knew did it. Yeah. My family didn't do it. I came from a long line of, like everybody else. They were workers. They got up. A long line of employees. Yeah. And it was never ever thrown out as an option. I've enjoyed it being a startup. I love the energy. I love that it's new. I love that there's a whole lot of problems. Again, nothing I know of how to solve, but I know that something's coming. So it's invigorating. Back to training. I love training people. But the excitement that happens around figuring things out, problem solving, being an entrepreneur, something I never knew existed.
Yeah. It's going back to the school system. So I was talking to my team because I graduated high school in 2008. So that was
You're like a
14
little
years
baby.
ago. Oh yeah. I don't feel like it.
Do CrossFit.
Yeah. Right. See, that's the hook. See, great sales. But most of my team here, they were born in like 2000.
And 8.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't have any child labor. But it's, they're like, 20 to 24, and they're walking through, like, there's still no personal finance. There's still, because I went from high school to undergrad to my MBA. I had one personal finance class, and that was elective that I had to choose to take. That was it for all that education. And it's not done particularly well. And we don't really set people up. And it's so much so that people had to create a whole business. Like Dave Ramsey has a personal finance class for high schools because state curriculum doesn't want to adopt just common sense, what do you need when you file a business? Should you be a sole proprietor, an LLC? What is an LLC? What is a corporate veil? Like, just really simple questions. Because when I go and talk to like high school students or college students, it's those basic things. Like, do you want liability protection? Don't open a sole proprietorship, and they're like, oh, wow, I never even thought about that. It's like, right.
Absolutely. Those are things I didn't know. I started as an LLC. I didn't know any better. I just filed some paperwork to the state. And then at the end of the first year, they said, hey, where's all this? And I said, I don't know what that is. Yeah. I have no idea. And so to your point, right, I had no idea. I didn't even know where to go to ask the questions.
Right.
But same thing. So let's talk about that. I don't even remember taking a personal finance class, and I have a master's degree as well. I do know that during college, I probably overdrafted my bank account 17 times.
Yeah, I got a really good education in that myself. So
I cost a whole lot of money. Thank you. Fifth Third, you owe a lot. I've given you a lot of my money.
You and me both. Fifth Third.
Yes, which used to be Old Kent back in the day for those of you that are over 35, 40. So I didn't know. I didn't know how to balance a checkbook. I didn't know the cost of things. I didn't know any of that.
Budgets.
I couldn't even tell you how that was. That was mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Does this look right? That's what you're asking. Like, am I doing this right? And it's just one of those basic skills that translates so well into business. Things like having a budget, understanding how to read a balance sheet, not how to make one. How do you read it? And it's these little skills that don't take that long to learn. Like all the people that are here now that are doing finance and helping me with, controls, like we're doing classes internally here about like, here's how you read a balance sheet. Here's how you read a P&L. Just in case like anyone that works for me ever goes and starts their own business, I want to equip them well because they might not always be here with me. So like, those are things that I think people just should know.
Absolutely. And it may change their opinion of opening a business.
Yeah, hopefully you stay. Grant, you're staying.
Yay, Grant. But
I am right here for the time being. Don't worry.
Very good.
I don't want to figure all that out.
Yeah, for the time being, this is an asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, yet. They don't know. And again, for preparation, I almost feel like there needs to be, Sherpa might be not the right word here, but I feel like you need to have like a shepherd. Yeah. That any entrepreneur gets this shepherd that takes them along.
An entrepreneurial shaman.
Yes.
To lead them through all the things.
For like 6 months to 12 months, you get this person who knows everybody. He may or she may not be the expert, but they are a connector. They're a helper. They essentially come in. If I could find a position that was like a startup expert where you could just go and I get paired up or I pair up with you and we just walk the first 12 months together and you literally, whatever you need, I help direct you to. Every entrepreneur should get somebody like that.
Yeah, it's like a 12-month boot camp.
Yes, I love it. And those probably do exist, but I like the shaman Sherpa better.
I haven't seen any. I feel like a partnership is being started here.
Oh, I love it. New business. I'm not good with budgets and P&Ls, so.
Well, good. See, complimentary. I'm not good at fitness, so.
Fantastic. Well, we'll work out every morning and talk about budgets.
Good deal. So one of the newer segments on this show is I ask the guests the same 3 questions every week because I like to learn more about just kind of what makes business owners drive, and also too, like what what are some ways that you kind of let loose and kind of blow off steam? So one of the questions is, apart from CrossFit, what is one thing that you do to relax?
As a business owner, is there such a thing?
I don't know. I don't ask myself these questions, so I don't know.
Well, I'm about to ask you.
Yeah. See, I read. That's kind of my main go-to is I read a bunch, but also I feel like that is sometimes for work because it's mostly business books.
It's kind of the same answer. I feel like I'm stealing. So I do. I listen to quite a few audiobooks. I enjoy it. Self-development is one of my things. I enjoy it. Somebody recommended me The Ride of a Lifetime. I believe it's by the Disney CEO. So I just started that. But I've done the Jocko books. I have done selling, marketing. I haven't done traction. It's on my list.
I just started that.
Okay.
Someone had recommended it.
Nice. So I would say that's probably my biggest thing. Or, if we're just being friends here and casual, sometimes I just sit on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah, that's usually the best thing to do is if you're trying to unwind is just turn your head off for a few minutes. I'm a big bourbon fan. So,
Okay.
that's another one that I think is good. Not like you're going super crazy, hard in the paint.
You guys currently can't hear Grant laughing at that. I may not be advocating for drinking because of my current profession, but
Sure.
Enjoying a nice glass to enjoy and appreciate the finer things in life is a good thing.
Right. And that's what I was explaining to somebody else because they all think it's all the same. I was like, no, there's differences. And that's what I like is learning the differences. It's not like, it's not like we're in college and we're all doing like, crazy keg stands and all that. Like I just enjoy the art of it. It's a fun hobby. Second question, if you could mentor, it's kind of going back to our new business we're talking about.
Love it. I'm in.
So if you could go back or if you could just speak into an entrepreneur that's getting into the field, what's one piece of advice that you feel would be the most important to articulate to them?
Oh, I don't know if I have just one. I think, again, here's what I'm going to say. Usually entrepreneurs are really good in their field. Podcasting, media, fitness. I know fitness. They know shirt selling. They know building websites.
Yeah.
What they don't know is everything else. I would connect. My recommendation is for them to connect with somebody who owns a business. Sit down and have a real life conversation with an entrepreneur. Maybe it's somebody in their field. If they don't know anybody, maybe not. You'd be surprised what can happen if you just pick up the phone. I bet if I called you one day randomly and you didn't know me and I said, you know what, I'd like to really start a company. It's not a media company, but can you tell me what your biggest obstacles were? Can you sit down and just tell me what your troubles are? Or, hey, do you have a family? I don't have a family. Should I have a family? What is that going to do to my family? Yeah. How long did it take to make money? I think my recommendation is anybody who's interested in being an entrepreneur, pick up the phone and call somebody who's been an entrepreneur and have a real life conversation with them.
Great piece of advice. Very good. Third question, what is currently your favorite piece of technology?
That is a wrong question to the wrong person. Let's see. The fact that I can text message on my phone is a win. Favorite piece of technology. Okay, here's where I'm going to go with this. I think technology is a great thing. I love innovation and I love change, despite my cell phone being 5 years old. Here's what I wonder in my business. What's the next evolution of fitness? Because CrossFit didn't exist. We were 2005. We kind of hit the scene.
It's still new.
It is still new. It's still very new.
Can't even drive yet. Well, I guess it couldn't.
Yeah, we're barely.
Last year.
Can Grant drive yet? It's about the same old thing.
He can't. He still gets Uber to work.
This console's the only thing I'm allowed to drive so far.
Yeah,
so
exactly right.
Good job so far. So how can we take, again, this is about CrossFit, but the world of Peloton and the world, like what they're doing, what's the next evolution of what they've created, the mirror, things like that. How can we use technology? We have heart rate based training. What can we do there in our space? What's the next piece of equipment that we could use to revolutionize or evolve what fitness is, what we do? that's what I would say I'm most interested in. I have zero idea what that is or where even to start. But I do know that technology is so powerful. If I could figure out a way to teach you, to see you at home working out, what I'd love, have you ever seen Tony Robbins do his virtual training?
Yeah.
It's literally just TV screens of people. If I could get to a place where I could virtually train and I could see all of you, it's not this, and watch your movement, give you real-time feedback, talk just to you. Maybe that translates into something to the people who can't make it to the gym, to the people who have little ones that have to be home. I don't know, but I could see that potentially working. Again, we still lose the in-person contact, so it's not great for everybody. But I don't know. I think I'm going to go back to I don't know what I don't know, but I would be very curious to see how we can revolutionize the next version or evolution with technology.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily one piece of equipment. It's more so just kind of the excitement of what's on the horizon.
Yes, I would say so. I'm pretty simple when it comes to that. It's kind of, I don't know. Probably I'm too young to say I'm that way and too old to,
No, there's nothing wrong with having a minimalist approach to technology.
There we go. That's a fancy way of saying that.
There you go. No, I think that makes sense. I am excited as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Fight Camp. It's this, basically it's this punching bag that has all this tech built into it. Training, how hard you're hitting. Like Mike Tyson's kind of one of the promoters for it.
Okay.
And Joanna Jędrzejczyk is a Polish fighter. She's been promoting it a lot as well. But there's stuff like that where it can like walk you through fight simulations and where to hit the bag and how to hit it and how to strike and how to make sure your wrist is straight and just stuff like that. Like that gets me excited. Mm-hmm. Like all this new tech that's coming out. And then my hope is that like the old tech, your Stairmaster, it doesn't just become like a coat closet, and it actually serves a purpose, and we can actually figure out how to infuse motivation and community into this technology as well, or it's going to just be like the old tech.
No, I agree. I think that's a very good way to put it. And I would say I'm on the same exact page. And I didn't know about that. Although I did see something the other day where they had their phone wrapped around the heavy bag. So they could see I don't know what they were watching on the heavy bag, but I'm guessing it was something similar or a kickboxing class.
Okay.
Something like that. I just saw it come across. So again, who knows? But I think you hit it right. How do we take that and create the same or similar motivation, community, excitement?
Yeah.
Using that.
Absolutely. Well, Jessica, I appreciate your time. And this is your first podcast. How'd it go?
I guess the viewers will let me know.
Yeah. No, they'll be fine. It's tremendous. I had a lot of fun. And that's all that matters. Did you have fun?
I did have fun.
So there you go. So if people want to follow or get a hold of you or learn more about what you guys are doing at the Kensington Valley CrossFit, what do they do?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, Kensington Valley CrossFit. You can find us on Instagram at CrossFit KV. And you can find us if you Google us, Kensington Valley, and text us, call us.
Yeah. And all of the relevant details for your business is in the show notes of this podcast. So if someone is listening, just swipe up on the app and you'll see all the details. And also too, you guys have a really cool intro video on your website that it's like a virtual tour of sorts. The rings stress me out. But I just feel like that's one thing I'll never be able to accomplish, those rings. So
most people, everybody comes in the same thing, right? With something that they never thought they could do. And our role is to get you there.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming in today. And that is going to wrap up our show.
Thank you.
So much. All right, friends. Well, that is going to be it for this week's edition of the Chamber Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you can do us a favor, let us know how we're doing. Drop a review on Apple or Spotify. We would certainly appreciate it. And if you are interested in learning more about the Chamber, it's brightoncoc.org. And all of those details are in the show notes as well. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Take care.